We are on our first malacha, which is Choresh. Just a quick review how we got to this point. We said there are 39 malachot, and there are rules and regulations for each and every one of them. That's what we've been doing for the past 5 or 6 classes. We're now going to go through each one of the 39 malachot. And we're going to start with the source of it, the definition, or the name, the definition, the of, the tolda, the rabbinics that may come with it, which in many cases do, and finally, examples and questions and stories of practical applications. The first malacha of the 39 that we are going to do and finish today is Choresh. Choresh is plowing. And last class, if you remember, we looked at the definition of plowing, which is increasing the agricultural capacity of earth. You don't literally need to be taking a plow. Anytime you take soil and you upturn it in order to make it better to receive the seed, which is going to be the next malacha we're looking at today, that's going to be a problem. Also, there is a problem of something called mashve gumot. This is part of plowing. Mashve gumot. The word mashve means to flatten, gumot, holes. That means earth, by definition, is a little bumpy. That's what dirt or earth is. You can't even take an item. I'm not plowing. I'm just going to flatten it out. Going up to soil after a game has been played in order to return some of that soil to the little holes that have been created. Or if you have seen a game, which you probably haven't, called polo, after polo is played, this is horse polo, not water polo, they would go out and they would flatten the earth. That's mashve gumot. That is also part of this malacha.
How is that different than compressing soil?
Okay, because compressing soil, the soil is flat, and I'm coming along and I'm squishing that which already is. Here, I'm deliberately taking bumpy earth and flattening it. And that is my intention. For example, it used to be that homes were not carpeted or tiled or wooden planked. What were most floors in most homes for a long, long time? They were dirt floors. That's just the way it was. There is a decree of the rabbis, a derabanan. Doraita we know. But there is a rabbinic decree that you're not allowed to sweep inside your home. Now hold on. Hold on. No sweeping in home. This is one of the halachot actually that has changed over the years based upon what most homes are like. What was the concern of sweeping? Choresh. Why? Mashve gumot. People don't want bumps in their homes, right? The dirt floor, that was actual dirt. They didn't want it to be bumpy, so they used to take a broom and they used to sweep it so it was all level. And that's the way it was for thousands of years. And the rabbis were like, that you could do during the week, but you can't do it on Shabbat. What was the law? Don't sweep inside your home. That was the law. And then came along interior design, and things changed. Now you put wood down and flooring down and ceramic or tile or plastic, whatever it is nowadays. This does not apply anymore. You are allowed to sweep your home. Although the halacha is you're not allowed to sweep in your home, that's only a home that has dirt floors. But in a regular home that we have now, 2025, it is absolutely permitted to sweep. If you want to take a broom and sweep your home on Shabbat, that is 100% allowed. Then what's not allowed? So we're going to have 3 categories. Sweeping an actual dirt. Let's say you're outside and there's dirt on your grass or there's dirt on your, and you want to sweep that up, that would not be permitted. So actual dirt sweeping, no. Why? Choresh, plowing, mashva gumot, flattening out earth, leveling earth. That's not allowed. Indoors, totally okay. How about outdoors on a paved surface, like a deck or a driveway? Would that be allowed? And what's the question? Is that like a dirt outdoor floor, or is that like an indoor paved floor? That's the good question. That's a good question. And here we have a little machloket. Some people are okay with it and believe that it's a okay thing to do, and they'll sweep the driveway if they need to, or a deck, because it's a paved surface, right? And some be like, no, the law is don't sweep outdoors. Why don't you start letting people sweep decks and driveways? They're going to end up sweeping dirt as well, and that is a problem. So there are many people who do not, but that's what it's really all about. Okay? We said you're allowed to walk on soil. You're even allowed to walk on soil with high heels, even though you're going to be poking a hole in the ground. And that may look like plowing. Nothing to do with it. You can walk freely on grass, on soil, unless your intention is to make a hole. But for most people, it's not. They don't enjoy the fact that their heels are dipping into the soil, and that's going to be permitted. You're allowed to push your stroller or a wheelchair. You can even, said the poskim, turn the wheel, although it's going to be like, slipping side to side, and it looks like plowing because it's not my intention. It's not a something that you want to be doing, and that's going to be completely okay. All right, we good? Any questions? Okay, so we did sweeping inside, outside. We said walking on soil, strollers on soil, wheelchairs on soil outdoors, okay. It may look like you're plowing, but it's not your intention, and you're not really getting into the dirt, you're compressing it, it's permitted. Yes?
Can you translate that
Mashveh, you are flattening out. Gumot is holes, right? You're flattening out the earth. You're basically you're leveling out the dirt. That's the problem, and that's the challenge. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
This is only referring to if it's dirt or soil, not if there's soil and grass.
Same thing. Soil with grass on top is the same thing.
Yeah, but aren't you then ripping the grass out of the...
So you're not. You're walking on it, and we assume you're not. Walking on grass is okay. Running through tall grass, we'll see, could be problematic, but we'll see that in another malacha. But generally speaking, walking on grass and dirt and soil are considered the same thing, and you can walk on both. Okay? You can do that. Let's say you're walking with a cane, right? Is there a problem walking with a cane on dirt or grass? Not a problem. Same thing. It's not my intention. I'm just making holes. I'm not. Okay, fine. There's another rabbinic problem, which the rabbis mention, and that is playing games on soil or grass. Are you allowed to play games? Are you allowed to play baseball? Are you allowed to play basketball? Are you allowed to play kugelach? Marbles. Kugelach, the little game people play on the ground? Very famous, all the little kids play a little on the ground you play cubes, thank you, cubes. Are you allowed to do? Are you allowed to play ping pong? Right, how about games as well? Well, what's the problem? It's the same thing. Are you being mashveh gumot? Again, we're talking about the malacha. Forget about the spirit of Shabbat. So the same thing. Indoors, everyone agrees pretty much, within the realm of malachot, it is permitted to play ball games indoors. Are there families who say we don't play any ball games at all, even indoors? Yeah, but that's not halachic reality. They're not basing that on malacha. That's more spirit of Shabbat, takes away from Shabbat, but that is not malacha, and you are permitted, lahalacha, to play ball games indoors. How about on dirt? So here we see a machloket. There are many people who are like, no ball games on dirt because you're going to kick up the soil. It's inevitable. And you're improving it. You're going to aerate it. Even though you may not care about it, it's a psik resha. Even though it's the low nichale or a nichale, it's my benefit not. And they won't play ball games outdoors on grass or on dirt. There are people who'll be like, you know what? When I play my game, don't care about the grass. Like, for example, I sort of like throw a baseball or throw a football. The grass is not part of it. And I'm not crushing, I'm not digging into the grass. I'm on top of it. So you'll see many religious people will have their young kids or themselves will play ball games on Shabbat, even outdoors on grass. I worked at a camp during university here in America. The camp does not exist anymore, but it was the best camp. It was called Camp Monroe, and they flew out kids from Britain, and it was a religious camp. But the kids were not religious. But it was a religious camp. It was like a kiruv, an outreach camp. And I worked there for a number of summers, and I'm still very close to the previous owners. So they had a situation that said, well, what are we going to do with these kids on Shabbat? They're going to keep Shabbat. We'll leave them alone in the bunks. There were no phones in those days, but they'll play with electronic devices. And we've got to have them play games. So they got a pasak in that situation to allow the kids to play all sports outdoors on grass. But they're breaking the law. They're not really. But religious people don't play ball games outdoors, many of them. And the answer is, yeah, but again, it's not your intention. It's not their grass. It's not inevitable. All right, and if any dirt does kick up, they're not going to get any real personal benefit from it, right? So it's a psig resha, de lo nichale, and they let that happen. What's better than ball games on grass or dirt? Ball games on a finished surface. Now that's better. Playing basketball, and there are many religious communities, right? Pretty much Shomer Shabbat who play basketball, but on a finished surface. Or tennis, assume you're in an Eruv, or nowadays, pickleball. That's even better, because I'm not even negotiating or getting involved with dirt and grass. So that's obviously, can you see that's a little bit better? You can see a person being more lenient with that, because, okay, I'm outdoors, right, potentially. Indoors will be much less of a problem. I'm outdoors, but it's all paved. So I'm in an Eruv, so I can carry the stuff around, but it's going to be okay. And ping pong, indoors and outdoors, is even better, because I'm not even dealing with the ground. I'm playing on a raised surface. Okay, so that's how it is. Again, we have many different Jewish people who follow different laws. Some will not play any ball games at all. That is not the halacha. You can play indoors. Some will stay away from dirt. Some will only play on a finished surface. And some will do all of it because you're far enough away from Choresh and Mashve Gumot that you're not going to be dealing with ground at all. Yeah, question. Yeah, you good?
I was just ask, like, do you think there's a difference between different types of games? Like, obviously, like soccer, I feel like it's more inevitable to be picking up stuff that's...
Yeah, I can see soccer being different from, I guess, baseball. But even baseball, they're running fast and they're on dirt and grass. So, yeah, football, again, in my neighborhood, which is a very religious neighborhood, you see the young kids throwing footballs and stuff, and they're, playing baseball together. Better that than, potentially, doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. Again, but you go to some, Hasidic neighborhoods, well, there's no ball games during the week either, but, definitely not on Shabbat. Okay, and that has become the go-to Pesach. Okay, that all depends on your community, but this is the background to how the rabbi in your particular community will dealing with it. Are you allowed to wash a floor on Shabbat? Are you allowed to wash your floor on Shabbat?
No. Yeah.
Wash, I mean with water.
No.
The water, very good. But what could be absorbing water?
Dirt.
So a dirt, if there's dirt floor, but the towel or something else you use. Okay, so we'll see later. I'm mentioning it now because we're dealing with, cleaning indoors. But there is another melacha we're going to see called schita. Using a mop or a towel around the end of a mop should not be used because you're squeezing the liquid that's inside. What you are allowed to do is to pour water out on the floor, and then you can squeegee it, that rubber, in Egypt they do the, what?
Like Israel.
Yeah, Israeli style, yeah. Yeah, sponja, Right? Well, sponge if it's not a sponge. If it's just like a rubber tip, that's okay, 'cause you're just moving it away. Or you're soaking, you can soak up a liquid on Shabbat. You can't use an item to squeeze it out. Soaking, okay. Squeezing, not okay. So how does a mop work? Well, you soak it and all the liquid squeezes out in order to clean the floor. That you can't do. And that's going to be the same for a table, we're going to see later on. You can put water on a table itself, not tablecloth or any absorbent material, but you can put water onto a table or a plate and soak it up. That's going to be okay as well. All right?
You can't use a towel. You can't put a towel down to.
To soak it, you can.
Oh, just to
Soak, yes. Absorb, yes. That's okay. But to take a wet towel and to squeeze it out and to wipe something down, that is not okay.
So you can't mop with the standard mop on Shabbat?
Correct. You cannot mop with a standard mop on Shabbat. That is not what the Jews do. Okay?
But an Israeli mop you can.
So the minimum, it's not really a mop, is it? It's just like a rubber kind of like thingy. So they throw the water down and they just kind of like squeegee it. Squeegee kind of like, just basically just redistribute it. That's fine. There's no squeezing really, is there?
Can I then take
What about the Swiffer?
1 second.
like you know the plastic, not plastic, the sano ones that you put in, it's like a cloth that's wet, but you're not soaking because you do with it. And
So maybe that's not like a Swift thing. That will be okay. If you're absorbing liquid and that's your intention is just to soak it up.
squeezing, you're just throwing it in.
So if it gets soaking wet, right, and then you're kind of like using that to clean, that will be a problem. It shouldn't be soaking wet. It should be relatively dry in order to suck it up. Suck it up. It's the only time it's good. Okay? All right. What else do we have over here? Are you allowed to urinate on grass?
No.
Let's say you're in a field and need to use the bathroom. Are you allowed to urinate on grass or dirt?
Yeah, but it doesn't benefit the.
While you're watering it.
But it doesn't benefit the grass.
Why?
You're not benefiting the grass, you're killing it.
You're killing
By
it.
what?
I'm pretty sure it makes it worse.
So the answer is you're absolutely correct. You can. I know nowadays we have indoor plumbing, but for thousands of years, people used to make outdoors. And the halacha is that you are allowed to because you are not improving the soil, right? The acid, the acidity inside the urine, whatever it is actually breaking it down. So that would be permitted. So you're out somewhere and you need to don't have the use of a bathroom, you would be permitted to do that. Okay?
Because you're not benefiting the grass?
No, it's just it doesn't benefit the grass. Remember, all these malachot improve grass or soil, and urinating is not improving it. It's actually detrimental to it, maybe to a small degree, but it's not going to be good for it. Yeah.
Why are we allowed to mop on Shabbat if we're not allowed to wash things?
So you have to define your terms. You can wash things that are not porous, that don't absorb water. Wood, tile, ceramic, plastic, they don't absorb. You can, because you're just taking off the surface. We're going to see that washing something that absorbs, like curtains or clothing, is going to be different. So now we're saying, can you clean a floor? If it's a tiled floor or a wooden floor, all right, or ceramic, whatever it is, that you can clean because you're not absorbing. So where's the problem? The sponge you're using could be the problem itself. So we said, fine, just pour water onto the floor and then soak it up. Or just move it around.
It's not the absorbing that's the issue.
It's
It's the squeezing.
the squeezing liquid that's inside an object is the problem. Yeah,
So
the
absorbing
squeezing.
lead to it.
Not lead to it. By using a sponge or a mop, you're squeezing it out. That's what you're doing. Yeah?
So would you be allowed to pour like soda or something on the grass if it's not good for it?
Who says soda's not good for it? There's a lot of...
Any drink that's not good.
So, not deliberately. I guess alcohol is probably, detrimental to the plant. But that, deliberately you can't do it, for sure, right? Because then you're destroying the plants, right? Which you probably shouldn't do either.
So how is that different than urinating on grass?
Why are you allowed to urinate on the grass? I guess you could, but if your intention is to kill the grass, here my intention is to relieve myself, right? That's my intention. Over there, if your intention is just to throw it away, you probably could actually. Yeah, actually. And I think you used to have chamber pots, and they used to probably just throw on the grass, and no one even cared about it. Same thing.
Wait, didn't you say that people in your community will put the drinks by the desk?
So some people will do that because those drinks, if it's water or seltzer, that could actually improve the thing. But some people don't care and say it's not my intention anyway, and it's not inevitable. Good? All right, next malacha. Yep, that's it. What else do you want? We did everything? Yeah. We saw the Av, we saw the Tolda last class, and we saw practical applications. Oh, I forgot something. Thank you, Maya, for telling me. Flowers. Plants. Are you allowed to return soil to a flower pot? Let's say you have a flower pot in your house and you kick some over. Can you put it back inside? Okay, that's also dirt. Okay, now, for some reason, they make a big discussion about whether the flower pot has holes in it or not. In the end, it's an academic discussion, which I'm not interested in this semester. Both are forbidden. Potted plants cannot be interfered with. You cannot return spilled soil on Shabbat back into a plant. You can sweep up the dirt and get rid of it. You can sweep it aside, you're just moving it, but you cannot put soil back inside. Actually, a potted plant with earth inside it is muktzah. It is muktzah. As opposed to flowers, that is not muktzah. And that, we're going to see, is permitted to be moved around. So if you have flowers on Shabbat that are on your Shabbat table, no problem. Take them on and off because you're not dealing with earth. You're not dealing with earth. There's not you coming along and interfering with it. We're just saying that a potted plant has the same halachic reality as dirt outdoors, even though it's captured inside a potted plant. Yes?
Just to clarify, you can't add water to a earthly plant.
Fish can't add water. You can't, if it fell over, you can't even return it back inside because you're increasing the capacity and it's going to grow better.
So then for flowers, you can interfere with it, move it on and off.
You can move it on off the table. We're going to make in the next malacha a question of whether you are allowed to, if the flowers fell out, can you put them back in or put them in for the first place? Let's say someone comes to your home on Shabbat, which has happened to me many times with flowers. Can I take those flowers and can I put them into water? We'll get there in a second. Or can we add water to a vase? We're going to come to that as well. So hold on. So that's the next malacha. So let's do the next malacha together. Yeah, Maya.
When you said the potted plant, if
Yeah.
there's soil in it, it's muktzah.
It is muktzah. Yeah, you should not move it around.
But if there,
You
if
should
it's
not
in
put a
water,
potted plant onto your table on Shabbat, knowing fully you have to take it on and off.
But as long as it's in just flowers and water, you can move it.
That's going to be allowed. We're going to see right now that is absolutely allowed. Putting flowers into water on Shabbat when it has not been in water up to that point could be a problem. I'll read you a tshuva of Rav Ovadia Yosef of the Sephardim, who makes a distinction if the flowers are open or closed. If they're closed, there's still more to happen to them. If they're open, you could be lenient. You could be lenient. But let's do our next malacha. The next malacha is called Zoreah. Zoreah, which is sowing. Which basically is, you can't put seeds into the ground on Shabbat, sowing seeds. You plow the earth, and now why do you plow? In order to get seeds inside the earth. What you're not allowed to do is take a seed and put it into the ground on Shabbat. Okay? What were these seeds used for? Well, to grow wheat, to grow herbs that we use in the Mishkan. So anything that promotes plant growth, not just putting in seeds, promoting plant growth, c'est problème, is a problem. included in this is watering plants. You cannot water plants on Shabbat. You cannot water plants because you are directly involved in improving the plant growth in a positive way. That is a problem.
How about automatic sprinklers?
So automatic sprinklers, if they're set up before Shabbat, technically can be used, yeah. Yeah, because you're not doing it yourself, that's just happening. Okay? And we said already you shouldn't wash your hands over the grass, right? Try to avoid drinking water or other drinks, which potentially, but if the drink, we said, is detrimental, like whiskey or something, that will be less of a problem. You should not spit on grass. I know. Try not to, although it's a very small amount. Yep. Urinating on grass, we said, is going to be permitted. Okay?
Spitting on grass is not. I have another question.
Yeah.
So, in Israel, I saw a lot of people, like, you know how they take the seeds and they throw it?
Great.
Is that allowed or no?
Great question that we're going to look at right now. Are you allowed to eat garanim on Shabbat? You know, garanim, the national pastime in Israel. Actually, it's a national pastime in my home. Happens to be the bag I use over there is a nut place in Geula where they know me already. And actually, my daughter's coming back next week from Israel for the wedding, and they're picking up another bag. So this is my favorite place. Are you allowed to, my daughter, B'ezrat Hashem, getting married next week. So next Sunday, B'ezrat Hashem. Are you allowed to eat garanim on Shabbat and spit it out? Well, spitting out the shells would not be a problem. Question is, let's say you're eating garanim and one of the seeds goes on the ground, okay? Even accidentally. So here we are into a very, very interesting and not academic discussion about seeds on grass. The answer is you can. You can eat seeds in garanim. Let's say that some seeds fell on grass or dirt, especially if it's wet. What do you do? What do you do? So this discussion actually ends up becoming a machloket because we need to figure out at what point have you broken the malacha. And I'll explain what I mean. What point is malacha happening? Meaning, this malacha, putting a seed in the ground, when are you actually doing the malacha? When does it kick in? Let me ask you, as soon as the seed hits the ground, has anything happened? No. There are those people that say, one opinion is that when the seed hits the ground, you have 3 days. It takes 3 days to germinate. One of the opinions.
But what's the question?
The question is, at what point is this Zoreah actually happening? This malacha. Let's say we'll walk along and take a seed and say, you know what? I don't care. I'm putting a seed in the ground. Did that person break Shabbat? One opinion is, no, they didn't actually. They didn't break Shabbat yet. When's it going to be broken? Saturday, Sunday, Monday. On Monday, retroactively, you break it. It's a good trivia question. When are you retroactively breaking Shabbat? One opinion is on Monday. Because you put the seed in on Shabbat. There is another opinion that it says it's immediate. Once it hits, it takes 3 days. Once immediately it hits ground, you've broken Shabbat. Which of these two is the halacha? Or is the custom? Which one do we follow? The first one. The first one. So, let's say you're eating seeds, and a seed falls on the earth, on the ground. What should you do? Have you broken Shabbat yet? According to the first opinion, no. What should you do? Pick it up. Pick it up. Because you haven't broken Shabbat yet. If you water grass, once it hits the ground, that's it, you're done. You make a fire, you can't extinguish it, it's not going to help. The malacha happened once the match was lit, once the fire was made, once the water falls on the ground. That's it, it's done. Here, there is a window of opportunity to reverse the malacha because you haven't even done anything yet.
According to the first opinion.
According to the first opinion, that's the opinion we go with. That's the opinion we go with. once it hits the ground, you should, if you're able to, pick it up in order to make sure that on Monday you're not breaking Shabbat. So that's a good question for your Shabbat tables. Is it possible to break Shabbat on a Monday? Yes. Put a seed in the ground on Shabbat. And you've actually broken Shabbat on a Monday. Up to that point, you haven't. Not all seeds are there. Oh, by the way, I heard of this as a kid. I thought it wasn't real, but I found it in the Mishnah Berurah. It's not a halacha, it's not even the Rabbanan, but there is a custom not to cut nails on Thursday. Why? Because it takes a few days, Thursday, Friday, Shabbat, for it to start again. So you're really promoting growth 3 days later. It's not halacha, it's advisable. He brings it down as an inyan. Some people do not. You can cut your nails on Friday, that's a mitzvah. Kavod Shabbat, Friday is good. But there are some people who will not cut their nails on Thursday. But that is not the halacha, and halacha you are permitted to. Just an idea if it works both ways. It works getting out of Shabbat and also going into Shabbat. Right? Can you see that? So it is applicable. Okay, seeds. What seeds can you pick up and not pick up? So anything that is edible to you or an animal is not muktzah. Anything that is inedible to a human or an animal, even if you don't own an animal, then it is muktzah and you do not pick it up. So examples of seeds that are not muktzah: watermelon seeds, apple seeds, pear, sunflower, bird seeds or animal fodder. All of these are not muktzah. If they were to fall, you can pick them up because they're not muktzah and they could germinate. Yep.
Seeds that are edible to humans?
Or animals are not muktzah. They're not muktzah. Some seeds, animals and humans don't eat, right? Like raw peas and beans and garden seeds and grass seeds. They are muktzah. Although, having said that, I do know grass seeds that are eaten by birds, actually, which is why they put hay and straw on top to keep it all level there afterwards. But, or peach pits, even animals wouldn't eat that. Like a very hard, that would be muktzah. If it fell down, you shouldn't even pick it up and you just leave it.
Why?
Because you can't touch it, it's muktzah. Got it?
Yeah, but then you're not breaking, like,
Okay. But it fell down accidentally, it wasn't your intention, and that's the end of it. Yeah.
So when you're eating a peach and you get to the pit, should you leave some?
So some will leave a little bit on, and some say you can put it in one place once, you can put it onto a plate or something, and then there'll be other things on there which are not muktzah. You can take them together. They become tafel to whatever is on the plate. But you're allowed to, once it's in your mouth or in your hand, you can deposit it wherever you want. Okay? That is that.
So you're allowed to pick up seeds that are edible to humans?
Yes. And if they fell, you probably should. Okay. Flowers. So can you move flowers on Shabbat? Flowers are not muktzah. You can move them around on Shabbat. Can you put flowers into water? So it is forbidden to Rabbanan to put closed flowers into water. If they are open, some people are lenient. If they're opened up, most of the time you receive flowers on Shabbat. Some of them are closed or they're a little bit closed. They're not fully open yet, most of the time, and that would be a problem. That would be a problem. Ovadia Yosef says, yeah, you can't put them in if they're closed, and if they fell out, you couldn't put them back in if they were closed. If they were in as Shabbat came in, and they are open, so you have open flowers in a vase of Shabbat, and they fell out, you can put them back in. So you can return open flowers to water on Shabbat.
But you can put fresh.
But you should not be putting fresh flowers into water on Shabbat. Yeah. he says, just l'chatchila, you should try to be strict and not put even open flowers into water on Shabbat. But if they fell out, you could put them back in. Yeah.
So if you put, you're not allowed to put fresh flowers?
Fresh flowers that are not in water, you cannot put them into water at the
And
beginning.
What
If they are completely open, there are leniencies, but you should try not to do it even then.
What if they come in, you know how a lot of the places now, they keep them in a
Very
bit of
good.
water?
In that case, so the question is, can you put them into new water? Now that is... One second. That's a problem on Shabbat. You cannot add fresh water to a vase. On Yom Tov, I think you can be lenient with that, adding water to it. But on Shabbat, you should not even add water. So that would be like adding water, and that should not be done.
And this is the Rabbanan?
All Rabban, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
What's the difference between adding water on Shabbos or Yom Tov?
I'm not sure. People lean on Yom Tov. On Yom Tov, one may add water to the vase, but cannot change the water. There's leniencies over there. I'm not sure why. Yeah. By the way, that's going to be important for lulav and etrog. Many people take the lulav and etrog and they will keep it in water and take it out and put it back in again. That would be allowed on Yom Tov, but not on Shabbat. Anyway, you're not shaking lulav and etrog on Shabbat anyway, but that would be okay to put in. Okay, on Yom Tov. Yeah. You're not allowed to move flowers to a place where they're going to grow more from sunlight. Ideally, you shouldn't even open up curtains or doors in order to get sunlight hitting the flowers. There are people who do that in greenhouses. But if you're just opening a door to open a door, opening a window, opening a curtain, open a curtain, and it happens to be that more sunlight's going to hit the flowers, going to grow, it's not really your intention, that's going to be permitted. Okay? Yeah.
Actually, two questions. Just to clarify, all watering is under Zoreah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then also, what about like moving the pots? Is that under Zoreah too?
Yeah. Yeah. It's muksa, is so that you don't come to mess around with the soil. It's probably more choresh actually, but yeah. Yeah.
Or is it like, I've heard, I don't know, you said not to say what you've heard before, but what if it like would enhance your Shabbos, or like if you're making your
What would?
like moving the pot? Or
No.
right?
I don't think it's going to be enough because it improves your Shabbat.
Okay.
You know, driving to Dunkin' Donuts may improve your Shabbat. I don't think it's permitted. I don't believe so. No. No. Okay. There was something else I wanted to mention over here. Even putting something like, well, this is going to be obvious to you, but putting like an avocado, they put into like pins and they put it onto water. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. Nothing to do with dirt at all. Or cress. When I was a kid in class, we used to grow cress. That was like every teacher in my class growing up. You know, you put it into water, right? It grows with water. Hydroponics. That's considered to be growing. You have the same problem. We consider it to be the same. Even hydroponics or something, that would be a problem as well. Yeah.
What if you put the flowers in a table where the sun's going to hit it, but you did it before Shabbat?
That's not your intention. Even on Shabbat's fine, because you don't need to enhance your Shabbat. It happens to be that the sunlight's going to help it grow a little bit. Okay? That's going to be totally okay. What?
What was the closed flower?
Closed house is more careful because it still has growth to happen. It still has growth to happen to it. So closed flowers, people are definitely more strict with. If a flower is open and it falls, I can put it back in. If it's closed,
Like, are we saying like wraps?
Yeah, that's right. Do you mean
Huh?
Like when you say
closed, the bud is closed, the flower's closed.
Oh, I thought you were talking about.
You buy flowers like
I
this.
thought you were talking about like.
No,
wraps.
closed. The bud is closed.
Yeah,
Instead of,
that's what I
no. The bud is closed and it opens up. Right? If it's closed.
It's like
Okay, wait. I just read this.
Open
This is all wrong.
flowers, like the bud is open.
Yeah,
But
it's already open.
Paper, like if they gifted you.
That's not a problem.
Wait, so you can add that into water?
What?
If someone gives you flowers on Shabbos.
No.
that's open.
We're saying even if the flower petals are open up, try not to. If they fell out of your vase, you could probably put them back in on Shabbat. But even those, you should l'chatchila. I mean, there are some that say it's okay if the buds are open, but the custom is not to do it. So do not give flowers as a gift on Shabbat. And if you receive it, which has happened a few times, people come on Shabbat with flowers, because I have a lot of non-observant people, you just put it aside and hope for the best, really. Be honest with you. Yeah.
Fully under the oppression.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Closed is not enwrapped. Okay, next malacha is kotzer. Malacha number 3. Yes?
What's a Zoreah?
Also, a tolda of Zoreah is anything else you're doing with it. So let's have a look. These are names I don't remember. Toldos involve watering grass is a tolda, right? For sure. Watering grass is it. Applying fertilizer. Adding dirt to a potted plant. Yeah. Anything else that promotes the soil but doesn't actively involve you working the soil itself. All those are toldot. Good? It looks like it or has the same effect, but isn't the actual original malacha itself. But it's still Torah prohibited. Torah prohibited. Okay, next malacha is kotzer. You planted your seeds. Your seeds have jumped up into nice, beautiful plants or stalks of wheat. The next malacha is kotzer, which is reaping. That is removing, pulling the plant out, or cutting part of the plant, or plucking fruit from a plant is forbidden on Shabbat from the place of gedulo. Mi makom gedulo. From its place of growth. But to reap not from its place of growth could well be permitted and not a problem of kotzer. Mimakom, from its place, gedulo, that it grows from. Then it could be permitted. For example, you're not allowed to remove grapes from the vine on Shabbat. You can't even remove the vines, piece of vine from the entire vine, to pull a cluster of grapes on Shabbat. But let's say it's Shabbat, and you've got a nice cluster of grapes on the vine in a bowl in your house. You'd be like, how can I pull the grapes on the vine? That's kotzer. It's not. It's been reaped once, and that's it. And after that, it's detrimental to it. And pulling the grapes off a detached vine is not its place of growth. It's been removed from its original source of growth, and that would be permitted on Shabbat.
Wait, what is reaping? Like plucking a plant?
Plucking a plant, fruits, taking vegetables out of the ground, removing branches, all these things will be considered part of kotzer.
But not
Okay?
taking flowers out of water. The water is helping it grow.
Potentially, to do that deliberately.
I guess you did switching water out or
Right, but this is really you're severing the plant. Kotzer is you're severing the plant with your hands or with a knife. Okay? Okay, some of the toldos of kotzer are picking fruits or vegetables with your hand or mouth, not using a tool. Right? That's a tolda and totally forbidden on a Torah level. Harvesting dates by shaking a palm tree. I worked on a kibbutz. In my year off, I was part of a year program of Bnei Akiva, and one of the jobs I had was taking olives off a tree, which is very interesting. And you basically, well, nowadays they have machines that do it, but in my day, you used to literally just take the branch and shake it, or draw your hand across it. You see? So I'm not like using anything, but that would be forbidden on a tolda level. Removing the olives even by knocking the tree or shaking, I'm not even directly taking off, even shaking the branch to get, and they would pick him up off the ground, that would be forbidden as well on Shabbat. Okay? Some say removing live fish from water is kotzer. You're taking a living thing from its place of growth. And some say that cutting hair, fingernails, and toenails is actually part of this. Most say it's part of gozes, but some say it's actually part of this malacha over here. Okay? So that's our basic malacha. Pretty simple. Kotzer, makam gedulo. On a Torah, on an Av, and as a Tolda. Come along the rabbis, and they're like, and this is going to seem unusual to us, but it used to be that removing items from trees for many reasons was very, very common. Now, we don't really get involved in trees anymore because you go to the supermarket, you buy stuff. But it used to be that your ancestors, for thousands of years, relied on trees for a number of reasons. And what were those reasons? Well, to eat fruit, to pull out vegetables, but also to use, well, that's sitting under a tree, but they did that as well, but using the branches in a detached form to, I guess you could have asked 100 years ago, and everyone would have known. Now we don't. But everyone known it. What do they use branches for a lot 100 years ago and for thousands of years? Detached.
It was like cleaning fluid. It's like a kebab stick.
Kebab stick on the mangal. Shishlik. There's your family back in Morocco. Make kebab. Get me the stick from the tree. I make kebab shishlik. No. I mean, it could have been, but that's not what it was used for. It was used for hitting animals. Most of your life was animals, right? You worked with animals. They drove you around, and you needed them. So we actually have a rabbinic prohibition of riding an animal on Shabbat, because you may come to rip off a stick or a branch or to hit it. But you're thinking, we don't do that nowadays. That's the gezerah. The gezerah stands. Nothing you can do about it. That's just the way it is. We don't ride animals on Shabbat. An animal is not a bicycle or a scooter, which we already determined last class or before, is not a gezerah. It is not a rabbinic enactment. But riding an animal is, and again, everyone was riding horses or donkeys or asses around, right? And everyone was using an ox in order to schlep their stuff. So all that is forbidden because of a gezerah. This is a gezerah, a rabbinic enactment. Not to ride an animal on Shabbat. That's where it comes from. To ripping branches off in order to hit the animal, lead the animal, whatever it is. So we have here a whole area. Again, for us, it doesn't really happen too much, but the gezerah still stands, and it's called using trees. Hamishtamesh b'mechubar. Mishtamesh. This still applies. It's just not so common. Mishtamesh b'mechubar. Using mishtamesh, living trees or plants. You cannot use living trees or plants on Shabbat. You cannot climb a tree on Shabbat. You cannot shake a tree on Shabbat. You cannot even lean directly onto a tree heavily on Shabbat. All these are part of this malacha, mishtamesh, of this rabbinic gezerah, the rabbana. It's rabbinic, right? Nothing in the Torah says you can't climb a tree. It says you can't reap or harvest. So the rabbis were like, well, once we start allowing people to climb trees and start using trees, that's one. You cannot even hang something on a tree. Enactment. Rabbinic enactment.
No tree.
No tree has on Shabbat. If you have a house in a tree, the kid should not climb that tree on Shabbat. If you're able to access it through stairs and it happens to live in a tree, I don't know if that's going to be a problem on Shabbat. We'll get there, yeah. But if you have to climb the tree itself, that's going to be a problem. We have layers of it. Let me just get through the layers over here. Hold on to your questions. That's one aspect of the Gzeirah. No using a tree of an ilan on Shabbat. The rabbis were like, not only that, we have what's called the laws of, do you mind closing the door, please, Ayala? Thank you so much. We have an area, thank you. We have another area of halacha when it comes to them called stadim. This was so common, using trees on Shabbat and ripping up branches. Stadim, actually the word sad, side, right? The English actually is the exact Hebrew, so that'll help you remember it. Sides of trees you cannot use. I'm going to put that in inverted commas, and I'll explain what I mean. Sides of a tree should not be used, meaning not only can you not use the tree itself, climb a tree, people used to hang items on branches, right? You cannot do that either on Shabbat. Not only that, they were like even sides of it, which basically means attachments on a tree. Follow carefully. Attachments on a tree should not be used. For example, you've got a nail sticking into a tree. You cannot even use that nail and hang something on that nail. That would be forbidden on Shabbat as well. Again, we don't really live like this nowadays, but the law still stands. You should not hang something on a tree branch. You should not hang something that's attached to a tree either. Directly on the tree. That's a problem. An item that is directly attached to the tree. If you have a ladder leaning on a tree, you cannot use or climb that ladder because that's not the tree itself, but it's an attachment on the side of the tree. That would also be forbidden. What you can do, hold your questions for 30 more seconds, it's what's called tzidei stadim. Sides of a side. Attachment on an attachment you can use. Meaning, let's say you to have this is a classic example that the Gemara brings down, but everyone brings it down, a bucket on a nail on a tree you could use. Again, we don't really live like this nowadays because we don't really use trees too much. We have, homes and other things. But an attachment on an attachment you can use. So if you were to have a nail on a tree, you couldn't hang your shirt on it. But if you had something hanging onto the nail, which is on the tree, you could hang it on that. For example. What? Very, very good.
Like
a tire attached to the tree.
Well, it's attached to the rope.
That would be, so a tire on a rope on the tree would be permitted. A hammock, if it's attached to a bolt that's on the tree, can be used. But if it's wrapped around the tree itself and dangling between two trees, so you're on a hammock which is directly holding onto the trees, that would not be okay. But if the hammock is attached to a bolt, and that's why I know many friends of mine who used to attach hammocks, they'll make sure to attach the type where there's a bolt in the tree, they attach the hammock to the bolt, and they would lie down in the hammock, that's going to be okay. Right? Because tree, ilan, no. Stadim, no. Tzidei stadim, yes. Attachment on an attachment. That's like the bucket on the nail. Bucket on nail on tree is okay. Nail on tree would not be allowed. I'm mentioning because it's these expressions you hear, they'll talk about tzidei stadim, but nowadays, as I mentioned, these things are very, very rare. Are you allowed to smell a fruit? Oh, stop, 1 second. How about grass? Can you sit on the grass on Shabbat? Yep.
It's not inevitable that you're gonna pull it.
What?
It's not inevitable
Okay, but is it a problem of this, of getting involved? So you're right on that, but now I'm using, you can't use a tree. Can I use grass by sitting on it, putting my hands on it? Is that a problem of kotzer? So the short answer is anything that is very low, and I think, if I remember correctly, it's anything which is lower than 3 tefachim, even a stub of a tree. What am I thinking of? No. Tree stump, that's the word. That will be allowed to sit on. You can sit on the grass because that's very, very low. It's very, very low, and that will be allowed to be used on Shabbat. So you can sit on the grass if you want to. We said already you could walk on it, but even when it comes to this gezerah does not apply to sitting on grass. It would apply to a bush or something else. Okay?
You gotta sit in tall grass.
I mean, I don't know who would want to, but if it's more than 3 tefachim, which each tefach is 4, but more than 12 inches, more than a foot, I guess maybe that's problematic, potentially. More than 3 tefachim. I think that's, if I remember correctly, that's the amount. Tefach is 4 inches. This is a tefach, which is from 3 to 4, and that's okay. Yes, it's 3 tefachim. Thank goodness for that. Okay. So a very short tree stump or very low branches or grass could be used and sat on. Obviously, you can't pluck it, but just to sit in it and use it, you can. You can't use a tree, but you can use grass, right, to sit and put your hands on. Yeah.
What does sitting on grass have to do anything with reaping?
Because there's a rabbinic, we're talking about rabbinics, you can't use a tree. Even using a tree is part of the problem, because if you use the tree, you may come to rip it. So there's the gezerah, d'Rabbanan, of using trees. So he said, not only that, you can't even use an attachment, stadim, on a tree. But an attachment on an attachment, like a bucket on a nail, you can use. We're like, well, how about grass? Is that considered to be like a tree? We're like, no, it's very, very low. You can use the grass, you can sit in it and put your hands on it if you want to. It doesn't apply to anything less than 3 tefachim, which is about 3 times 4 inches, maybe 12 inches, something like that. Okay? Great. Smelling fruits on tree. Are you allowed to smell a fruit on a tree? It's another gezerah.
Why?
You may come to pluck it to eat it.
By smelling?
Yep. Fruit. Fruit. Yes, question?
Yeah. Are you allowed to use a tree as like a marker? Like, oh, meet at that tree or no?
Yeah, I think that's a problem. You're not touching or using it. You could do that.
So how is that different than smelling? Like you might come
Ah,
clean on the
very, very good, very good. It wasn't between a tree, right? And so smelling it could lead you to plucking it, using the fruit. But when it comes to, because you smell it, right? But flowers are permitted because you can enjoy the smell without plucking it. So smelling flowers on Shabbat that are attached to the tree still is okay. You have a rose bush or something, you want to do that, that's not a problem. But fruits on trees are not okay.
What's the difference between a flower and fruit?
Because you can enjoy a flower while it's still attached, because it's just the smell. But a fruit, the whole point is you want to enjoy, how do you enjoy a fruit? By eating it, right? It tastes good. So they are more strict by fruits and vegetables. Sorry, by fruits and vegetables than they are with.
Does that include like the nana plant that you can smell?
Well, if it's detached, then it's okay. But if they're a nana plant, is that considered to be a fruit or something you would pick in order to eat? Probably is. You eat it, right?
So you can't
Or is it you're saying nana? Is that really considered to be a flower? I can enjoy just the smell itself. That's a good question.
people eat it. People eat it. Yeah, but I feel like it's not like a apple or an orange, like you're smelling it like a flower.
It's permitted to smell a myrtle branch that is attached to the tree and even hold hand while it's still doing it, because you can enjoy the smell. However, it is forbidden to smell an edible, fragrant fruit, apple or etrog, as long as it's still on the tree.
So nana's fine.
I don't know.
I'm saying like it sounds
I don't know. Is it a fruit or is it a flower? That's a good question.
Will you Yeah,
You
but
could
they
eat
make, like, yes, it's probably that. It's not like you eat flowers unless they're edible.
I'm not sure. Okay, trees on Shabbat we did. Tree swings we did. Sitting on using grass is fine. Riding animals we said no. Fallen fruit, smelling fruit in a tree. I don't know. Is it possible to enjoy mint? Just the smell of it? If that's your intention, you're probably okay, I guess. I'm not sure. Okay. So I've got everything over here. That's the next malacha. Sitting on grass, no riding animals. Okay, any other questions? We had a few questions I didn't answer. Yes?
So for grapes, it comes on the vine. Is that considered from
So on the vine, you cannot detach it from the vine, but if it was detached for Shabbat and it's still on a detached cluster, that you can remove on Shabbat.
Okay.
You can take a branch off it or take a fruit off it, that's completely okay.
Because it was taken from
Because it was already taken off.
Okay.
Okay, it has to be from Makom Gedulo, from the place itself. Okay?
Rabbi, what's the difference between mukta and like the gzerot that the rabbis do?
A muksa is a form of gezerah. It's just the one you're familiar with. But there's many gezerot. This is one of them. Mishtamesh be'ilan. Mishtamesh be'mechubar is another revision that you never heard of. You just heard of muksa.
I think it's just things the rabbi.
Yes, these are rabbinic enactments in order to help people not do a malacha. We're going to see a lot of these when we get to Shabbat cooking, bishul. It's going to be a whole slew because it's so common to cook for Shabbat. The rabbis add a lot of things of rabbinic decrees. So muksa is one form of a gezerah d'Rabbanan. This is another one. You've just never heard of before. Yeah.
So would playing instruments be a
Very, very good. Playing instruments on Shabbat is also forbidden because you may come to fix the instrument. I will tell you, that's a gezerah, absolutely. I will tell you, however, and that still exists, I will tell you that funny, I just had a discussion with this with someone on Shabbat, weirdly enough, on the way to shul. It used to be that people would get married on Fridays, have the chuppah on a Friday. Do you know why? Because they couldn't afford a wedding meal and Friday night dinner. Can you imagine? So they used to get married on Friday, the ketubah and all the rest of it, and they would have the party Friday night. It would double up as their wedding su'udah and their Shabbat su'udah. But we want to celebrate, it's a wedding. They used to have, hold your horses, these are religious communities, Goyim play musical instruments for them because the gezerah of not playing musical instruments is for you, but for a Goy it's something else. That's what they used to do.
Were you able to listen to it?
Yeah, of course I would listen to it. It's the wedding. It's the whole point. That's the whole point, is to listen to it so we can dance and like you do at a wedding. They have non-Jews play musical instruments.
So I can bring music.
Hold on. Do not turn off yet. So, came along the rabbis are like, okay, fine, it's getting a little out of control, out of hand. And once it started to, the reform movement started to put items inside the synagogue, organs and stuff, right? Because they want to be like their, Christian neighbors. And it became into that. Then the rabbis were like, stop that. And nowadays it's considered to be, not something that we do anymore. We do not have non-Jews play music at our events, although between you and me, technically, it is permitted. The rabbis in all communities, Sephardi and Ashkenazi, forbade it, and it no longer happens. Okay? Technically, it's allowed. Technically, it would be allowed. My friend, I was in Florida a little while back for midwinter. My friend was staying at the St. Regis. I was at the Grand Beach. I'm a simple Jew, together with 2,000 Beis Yaakov girls, ready to shoot myself. And he said there were Israelis there, and they were playing music on Shabbat, had a DJ, and they were playing all like the Jewish songs, Hashem Melech, on Shabbat itself. He said, I'm sitting there, walking around, and they're doing it. Oh, we have a non-Jew. It's not. Definitely not the spirit of Shabbat, but we do not do this nowadays. This is not our custom.
But did a non-Jew play the music there?
I'm giving you the technical halacha, but this is not something we do. Just to be very clear. All right? But I got to tell you, that's the halacha. You got to know, right? In order to, be knowledgeable. Okay. We'll stop over there. See you all, Mr. Shem, on Thursday, and we'll start our new malacha.